Hello everybody, this is a Lamley showcase. Our first look, our preview of Hot Wheels Car Culture Ronin Run 2. Fresh from Mattel, thanks to them for sending this. I've got them all here, we're gonna open them up and yeah, Ronin Run 2, Ronin Run 1 was 3 years ago. Doesn't even compare to this mix. In fact, hyperbole time, Lamley hype time, we might be looking at the best car culture mix top to bottom that has ever been released. And I know it's hyperbole, I know it's hype, but I think it might be true. Go back. I'm going to do the same. I'm going to go back and look at this mix from top to bottom, from the new model to what's been moving to premium to the chase. I think we have the best mix ever. There ain't any peg warmers in this mix. Let's get to it. Let's open them up. You guys tell me if you agree with me. In fact, I just did a video where I compared this to some other mixes and it just doesn't even compare to others. This is just the best. All right. I think we've got such a great mix. We could go in number, we could go in order. So let's just do this. Let's just start with number one. Nissan Skyline GTR R32 Pandem. We got a car show, by the way, good one after this, but let's get to just opening these up. This one debuted Modern Classics, was it last year? In the Pandem livery, the one that was the Toyo Tires livery that was at SEMA. Now we have our first factory color, in quotes, version of this model. I'll show you the back. There it is. I'll show you that. Here it is. This should be hitting soon. Eurospeed is just rolling out. This one will be at hobby dealers and stores fairly soon afterwards. We could and maybe will in the car show compare this to the other Skyline mixes or the other Skylines, but we've done that with the Pandem. This one just is nice to see, just a straight yellow version. Let's get it opened up. It really gives us a chance to also see this casting. I love the Pandem livery on it in Modern Classics. It was also the chase, if you remember, but it's also cool to see this one just in its cleanest form. You get, you know, the Pandem kit on this without any branding, maybe on the license. Yeah, you do on the rear license. Just the right rims for this one. I think it was 5 spokes the last time. You get the plastic spoiler, which I think it was Ron who designed this one. So you get like the plastic spoiler allows for it to just look a little bit more crisp, which I appreciate them doing this on premium. I actually like the plastic spoilers a lot. This one's super, super clean. And I think that's a perfect follow-up to the Pandem and the Chase, you know, the Toyo Tires and the Chase from last year. Let's put this, we're going to be definitely rolling with a car show theme here. All right, let's move on to number 2 and we get right into it. This might be the most popular model of the mix. I think your 3 superstars, you know, chases are chases, but I think your 3 superstars are the Pandem Skyline, the Lancer Evolution, and this Honda Civic Type R, otherwise known as the FD, otherwise known as the Civic, not sold in the US, otherwise known as Ron Wong, the designer's high on his want list, a must design for him, one that he wanted to get to as soon as he got over to the design center in Los Angeles. This has been, and I would say AKA also the model that caused as much hype as any when we did the sneak peeks in April from St. Louis. This is an incredible amount of excitement. I'll go ahead, I would just say I would probably just go ahead and do the chase right now. I would, instead of waiting. It is 005 and it is the Civic, and they did something very cool here. I think Steve Vandervate did this, who did the graphics for this model, and then they incorporated into the packaging. And there's been a lot of talk about this Type R with that really cool artwork, and it changes as a chase to the Hype R, which is just brilliant. And just having this duo, and it is reflected in the it is reflected in the licenses as well. We'll get to that when we do the close-up. Let's open this one up first. Like I said, Ron Wong, really, this has been so high on his list. This is the FD Civic. It's an Asian spec. It was a different body style than what we saw in the US. And it's, you know, as far as Hondas go, and Civics and Type Rs and everything else, this might be the one to have. And, you know, and we've done this. We had the Honda diorama set, we had the Heist Civic from the Fast and Furious set, and now in this trio, this little trio of features, you get the FD Civic, and this might be the star of the show. We had that new S2000. It is so cool. This will be the starting point for our car show. And I think you will dig what I've got when it comes to, well, you'll just do the car show when we do it. But this is my first time seeing the finished product. It's amazing. You've got the side mirrors that everybody wants. Agree. You get the plastic spoiler, which I talked about with the Skyline, which is fabulous. Type R on the license plate, of course. Tail, it's everything. This thing has that 8th generation egg shape, but it is the FD, which just has, it's just a little bit tighter, I mean, just looks wise, it's great. Legendary wise, performance wise, it is a monster. Let's open up the Hype R. Car so cool, it has its own name. And it's going to be like that, you know. Rexy and Roxy, of course. But Hot Wheels has given this the name, and I have a feeling the vernacular will be, dude, I was at the store, I found the Hype R. I think that's how we're going to talk about it. It won't be the Civic Chase. It will be the Hype R. Artwork, you can compare them. They look fantastic. In this particular case, you always see something kind of fun with each one. They change the art for the 499p. Sometimes they remove graphics. In this case, they changed the license plate. It could not be better. I'm really glad, you know, for the Black Chase, this thing just is so cool. And I just opened it. There you go. White Civics win, but this black Civic, now if you notice, before we put on the turntable, they did change the wheels on this too, to give it enough of a change. So you got two very distinct models, and Hype R and Type R, just the best. Red Honda badging, of course. Oh, I just love this. Get it on the turntable. Black interior, I think that is the same. Yeah, the white one has black interior. You know, this saying Hype R, sometimes, you know, you just have to argue. Chases are chases. They could be any color. They could be any look. We're going to always pick up a Chase. But when they look like this and they have basically their own kind of vibe, I love it. God, I'm so happy with this mix. I am so happy with this mix, and it's hard to even know which ones are the best. All right, let's go to number, that was 2, let's go to number 3. The other new model in this mix, and one that's just so cool, but sadly it's gonna be overshadowed, but it's just rad. Mad Mike's Mazda RX-3 Wagon. The artwork is great, love the background here. I don't see Mike in there driving, but I assume he is in there. All these details here are gonna be great. Let's just open it up. Obviously based on a real car, Mad Mike's Wagon, and Mad Mike and Hot Wheels have quite the good relationship. We've seen several of his cars done in their spec, not just in deco, but in, you know, their actual spec in the casting. Very deserving, I think. We'll move that over here and check this out. We've seen the RX-3. In fact, the RX-3 is the original Car Culture new model. In Japan Historics 1, it was made for that. It was what, purple, I think. And so it's a piece of history. There might be some notes here that are different, that are similar to the old one, but obviously this is it does seem a little bit smaller, but it has very much a wide body kit, the Mad Mike kit. It is a wagon, of course, which makes it great. But yes, they didn't need to go factory on this. They needed to go exactly as they did. And I'm sure we'll see this in other, I'm sure you'll see this like hit a wagon mix or something in the future. And but this is how it needed to be released in its actual livery, and since Hot Wheels is the sponsor of this car as well, it works perfectly, seeing it wrapped all around. You get all the details on the window, you get all the details on the front grille, the chin spoiler, of course. All of this stuff is there. It's just a really, really well done, fully wrapped model. And just, you know, in car culture, things are going to get overlooked, I guess, or get overshadowed slightly, but this one is just great. All right, number 4. Another star of the show, and one that I don't anticipate seeing on the pegs. Fast and Furious just went premium, right? Started as a basic, now it just went premium in the last Fast and Furious mix with the Heist Civic. That's going to be super popular, but, you know, as I've said many, many times, great artwork, by the way. This is exactly why I like the Fast and Furious line more than anything. By the way, I have a Fast and Furious feature that you guys will all be happy with, because you've all been mad at me. I'll talk more about that in another date, but something you'll be happy that I'm doing. All right. But as I argue about Fast and Furious, I always say this model is why I love the Fast and Furious line, because it didn't look, you know, not my cup of tea, at least in the Fast and Furious livery that it had, or the deco, but then it gets followed up with this gunmetal gray with dark gray rims. Oh, It's just phenomenal, and what a cool model this is. As we talked about in the Fast and Furious, Ron did modify this slightly. It had kind of a weird front end in the basic. It kind of ran a little low, so he evened it out to make it look more more accurate for the real car. And this one is just shining in gray with the black trim. I just think it's great. Metal spoiler on this one, but I think that's because it started as a basic and then gets moved to premium. And even though it was modified, I think it would be too much of a modification, probably too costly to move it to a plastic spoiler, because that would change the entire formation of the casting. No complaints. It's fabulous. We'll park it right here in this car show. And we finish off with slightly overlooked again, but beautifully done 89 Toyota Supra in red. As you know, this came in white over white. Never be better than that. In the Toyota 4Runner, Toyota Team Transport set, right? I'm really happy to see it return in another factory color, just in plain or straight or clean red. Here, I'll put, there we go. And here it is. It's funny, with all the models we have here, including a Hype R and a Mad Mike Wagon and a Pandem Skyline, I just look at this and I go, oh, isn't this one nice? And it sure is. Stance on this is so good. And I really like the use of these wheels. They're very much 80s vibes. You know, that their real riders can be used, can kind of take on the life of their own, right? And I've loved Hot Wheels real riders, and this one really does replicate the, you know, it's close enough to the actual factory hubs or wheels that they did for this car way back in the 80s. It's kind of perfect. Like, you see, I'm sure the designers are proud to see him looking so good on a Supra and then looking really good on, you know, some sort of like, you know, race car or something. Like, just, you know, it can look so different depending on the casting you put it on, and this looks phenomenal. All right, what do you think of this set? It's top to bottom great. Wait till I do the second part of this, comparing it to other mixes. You'll see it just is, I think it's really maybe, and I want to know if you agree with me, is this mix the best mix in car culture that we've ever seen? Because I think it is. I might do some research, but I think it is. All right, let's get to the car show. Very excited about this one. And actually, it was a bit of a learning experience for me too. We're doing all things Type R, and it's not a hard collection to do in Hot Wheels. We'll get to that in a second. You're looking at this and you're saying, well, John, you don't have some Type Rs here. That's true. I have two of them there. But I do want to point out before we get to the car show, this is the last month of Hot Wheels releases. And for Honda collectors, holy cow! 20th anniversary S2000 in the Honda set. Of course, the Heist Civic from the latest Fast and Furious set that's going to create quite the buzz. And then these two released, obviously same casting, released simultaneously in the Ronin Run 2. I mean, you're a Honda collector. It's never been better. And you add that on top of all the other castings that they've done, and we're actually going to get to that. This is a golden era for sure. We have not just Ron to thank, but Rob and the Hot Wheels design team, I think, because, you know, they're doing this and they're really wanting to hit the Honda button hard, and they definitely have. So we'll get rid of these. We'll put them in the parking lot over here. I'm kind of obsessed with the Wiz Calistro stuff right now, as you probably can tell. And I just really like his setups. We'll do more on that later. Okay, I'm going to move these out of the way for just a second. By the way, too, black and white, pretty strong theme here with the Hondas as well. Type R. Let's talk Type R. And Honda, obviously Honda Performance. If we put it, it's kind of known as, it's, you know, I mean, you think about other performance divisions of other car makers, the Type Rs are the high performance Hondas. Civic is not the first Type R, if you're not familiar. Oh, it's also, I just brought that out because it's also a signature element of the Type Rs, besides all the performance upgrades and everything. is the Honda badge with the red background. So that's one thing to look for if you're looking for a Type R. Hype R is nothing official, but it's cool. All right, Type Rs, high performance Hondas. Civic is not the first. The first models to sport the Type R label were, and I can't remember exactly what in order, was the NSX and the Integra. And of course, Hot Wheels has those represented. I don't know if they have every generation. We'll have to ask Ron or others, or you Honda fanatics. And we are represented here with the NSX. This is Ryo Asada's premium casting that's done for Fast and Furious. I of course had to pull out the white one, which is actually part of that Honda diorama set as well, originally in the Mountain Drifters or whatever it's called set. So that one, we've got the Type R Acura, or Honda NSX actually, I should leave it at that. And then of course from RLC, which fits nicely in this theme as well, you have the Integra with the red badge. All, you know, obviously this one is even more detailed with the opening hood and everything else, done for RLC and exclusively for RLC. We won't see this one. I don't think that the one done for Fast and Furious is a Type R. I could be wrong, but I think that this is, you know, the two Type Rs that we have. So already represented through those two castings that were released in the last few years. But we want to focus on the Civic Type Rs. So we'll move the NSX over here. We'll move the Integra over here as well. And let's talk about Honda Civic Type Rs. I'm not going to go by release. I'm going to go of the casting. I'm actually going to go by actual generation. So Type R badging or labeling was added to Civics in the 6th generation. That's the EK Civic. And that one is represented. Like I said, you can do an entire collection of Civic Type Rs in Hot Wheels. Now, I could bring out the basic, but since that Honda set was released, we could call it a bit of an upgrade. We have a straight up plain white, there's your badging, Honda EK9 Civic Type R, done in premium. We had the Boulevard CJ's one, but this one is straight up from the Honda set. So this is the first one. We can go pretty much white on white for the most part. We can go white cars, but we have some exceptions. We'll get to that in just a second. This is the EK9 Civic, obviously 6th generation Civic, first time that the Type R was released or introduced to Civic. So that's the Type R. I'm going to keep saying Type R, but that is the EK9 Civic, was the very first, and we have obviously a very nice casting, a very nice representation of that casting, and several releases, including you could bring out the Gold Nugget Super Treasure Hunt, you could bring out the Falcon Tires Special Edition, all that kind of stuff, but that is the first generation Type R. If you go second, and this is where the surprise is, I completely forgot about this model. 7th generation Civic Type R is the EP3 Civic, and I was thinking, I don't know if that one has been done, but I was reminded by some friends that it actually has, and we have not seen this model for a very, very long time. Badge on this one, this is a 2005 release, or 2006, I think, actually. I think this is a 2006 release of the Honda Civic Type R. This is actually the EP3 7th generation Civic. Now, we don't have... There's been a couple other releases, this one, but not very many. This, I think, is the best looking one. It was done in white. I don't have it. Probably should have it for this theme. And then this is the recolor in black with the PR5 wheels. We're going to open this one up and we'll put it on the turntable. In fact, I can, just so you can see the entire card, I'll move the camera up just a tad so you can see it there. You get, yeah, there's a full view of that one, of the Civic Type R. So yeah, we're going way back, 2006, almost 20 years for this casting. I think it was originally introduced in 2004, 2005. I actually have two versions of this one. I'm only going to open one. This is the faster than ever version as well, which I actually think is better looking with those copper rims, but I have a Fast and Furious feature coming up in the next couple months. I'm going to save it for that, but I probably will open up that one. But yeah, this one is very, very cool and needs to be in the collection as well. So we'll open it up. And here it is. So yeah, I don't know if there's any plans to bring this one back, but considering the richness of the Honda collection right now, It would be nice to see if they can go back into their archives and find this tool or find all the plans for it and reproduce it. It's a really, really nice casting if you look at it. You know, I don't know, based on all the pieces and stuff, if they could still do it for basic, but they could upgrade this to premium, put it in all white rims, and we've got ourselves a great model. You've got the headlights were done in plastic, or as part of the window piece, which we've seen done in a lot of models of late. It's really, really well done, and I don't think would feel out of place with all the rest of these much newer castings that were produced. So we'll go ahead and add this one, roll it in, back it in for this Honda show right there. That's looking really good. That's the EP3 7th generation Type R, Civic Type R. Next one, that's when we get to what we are at right now. This is the big one. The FD2, also with its companion model, the FN2. And we have to get a little creative here, but the FD2, it's what we're at right now, the FD Civic. That is the new one. That is the Ronin Run. Ron Wong, I was talking to him about it. He was so excited to do this one. It's so popular in Hong Kong. That's where he's from. He was like, I have to do this model. And we've already put it on the turntable and everything else. You know how magnificent it is. I don't know, all you Honda Civic fans, I don't know if there's a particular Type R that's considered the signature, but I know that the FD2 might be the one if there had to be a one of the Honda Civic Type R. So we've obviously got that one represented. But the thing that's interesting about this one is this, like I said, this was the Japanese spec. I think it was also in some other international markets, not in the US markets. But there was a European spec for that same 8th generation Civic Type R that came along with the FD2, and that's the FN2. Did Hot Wheels make this one? No. But Matchbox did. So, if we stay within the Mattel family, we can actually create this entire line. So I said, yeah, Hot Wheels, it's a tire collection. But you do have to go to Matchbox to get the FN2 8th generation Type R. And I've got this white version that was released twice early on in its year. I think it came out originally in 2007 or 2008. And then we've seen it kind of pop in here and there. Definitely an egg-looking car. I think this is a Ryo Asada design for when he was with Matchbox. And considering Ryo's obsession with Honda, it's pretty obvious that he was saying, I'm going to make this model. So, along with Ron Wong's FD2, you have Ryo Asada's FN2. You just have to jump the hallway from the blue brand to the orange brand to get these two companion Civics, which is very, very cool to see. All right, that's 8th generation. 9th generation, you go to the FK2. Civic Type R, back to Hot Wheels, back to the Hot Wheels family. There it is done. We haven't seen this one. I don't think this one has gone to premium as well. I'm just trying to think about it. I don't think it has. We've seen, and we haven't seen it a ton. It actually has, debuted in red, I think, recolored this one in white, which looks nice. The cool thing about these models too, they all have, outside of the EP3, they all have front and rear tampos in their original releases, which is so nice to see. And this one does as well. So you get that kind of interesting, very unique taillight setup and headlight setup. And having the FK2 in this white with the red rims, I don't keep all of them, but you know, there's a couple, like there's the Busy Moto and a couple others that are very nice. But I like to keep these plain ones. And of course, if they do a plain white, I'm definitely keeping that one in the collection because this, you know, it forms pretty well. That is the FK2, and then it would seem like just 6 minutes later, they released the FK8 10th generation Civic Type R, and we have that one as a complete companion, done in white with the red rims. Really very much like its twin, just one generation later. 10th generation FK8 looking very, very good too. I think this one is the better looking of those two generations, and you know, and you're seeing kind of an evolution in design. I mean, the EK9 definitely had its very specific look, and then when you start going from the EP3 to the FD2 to the FN2 to the FK2 and then to the FK8, you're seeing it go from like that hatch, almost wagon silhouette that the EP3 and the FD2 have, to this egg shape, all hatches, right? But this egg shape, and then you get a little bit more of a squared off body with the FK8. And then finally, we have to jump away from the white to get the FL5. And I've asked Ron, and maybe one day we'll see it. I hope we do. But the current generation Civic Type R, done by Ron Wong as well for premium. And we've seen it only once in Boulevard, I guess twice technically, Boulevard and in the Spoon 2-pack, but we have this Spoon livery. No complaints on a Spoon livery on a Honda Civic, of course. But we get the Spoon livery on this model, but hopefully white on white is coming at some point, because I think that would be cool too. And obviously this one definitely shares a lot of the design cues of the 10th generation Civic, the FK8. And I think that one looks pretty magnificent as well. But how cool is that? I'll have to roll this one over here as part of this. But you can do an entire Type R collection with Hot Wheels now. You get every generation with, well, you actually do get every generation. Even if you took out the Matchbox, you're getting 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th. You're getting every generation of the Civic Type Rs. Add to that the NSX and the Integra, and we are golden. How rad is that? I didn't realize you could do that. I started putting it together and I was like, oh, this is a puzzle, and it's finished. Not bad, right? Well, you guys tell me what you think. Ronin Run 2, you in? You dig the set? I sure do. Like I said, I think it may be the mix, not only of the year, it might be the mix of the entire run of car culture so far. It's just so perfectly done and has such great models in it. Anyway, you guys tell me what you think. Tell me what you think of this Type R collection as well. Thanks, everybody. Bye.